Yo, what up? It's your boy Sean from the Better Days Rain podcast. And today I'm going to shoot this episode from my house, but I really wanted to, I started writing this book. It's called Keys to the Game. And I want to start sharing with y'all how I've been able to unlock the keys to the game, right? Which is long-term sobriety. It's a new life. It's stepping into a new version of you, a completely different you. You know, for those of all who are spiritually based, right? Um, I would definitely tell you that the way we treat recovery, um, most of us typically step into a room to save ourselves, right? And I've had this aha moment, right, where God came and tell me, He's like, the reason you struggle so hard is because you're trying to save that old version of you. You're trying to pick and choose which versions of you to keep and which versions of you to get rid of. And to really step into the new you, you have to die. You just have to die to yourself, right? You have to completely throw the old you in the trash. You have to get rid of it. You have to absolutely get rid of every piece of it, right? The more you try to hold on to things, the harder it is for you to move forward, right? And I've worked many different recovery programs. I put myself through college, and I can be 100% honest with you, man. When I was going through all these other programs, they all work, right? They all work, right? I put myself through college, it works, right? But when you start focusing on your spiritual growth, right? Um, what was working, right, was exhausting me. Like I was super tired. I was having to study. I mean, I was up all night, just racking my brain, trying to figure out how to save myself. And God just came to me and says, "Man, I need you to die. I need you to die I need you to die to you, so that way I can start working with the new you. Because the way you are is just not. It's not going to produce the way you want it to produce." Right? It's not. You're not going to get the results you want. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to get the things you need. You know, and I have to honestly sit down and say, man, thank you God for giving me what I needed and not what I thought I wanted. Right? Um, the recovery programs are a you versus you program. It's me versus me, right? And the reason they're because of that, the reason it is that, it's a very true statement, right? And the reason it's because it is that way is because we're trying to save that old person. You know what I'm saying? Where we're constantly in this fight, like that old version of you has to die. That has to die, and you have to rebuild it. You have to rebuild it. In school they'll tell you it's deconstruction, right? Spiritually, you got to die, right? You literally have to die. So that way God can start rebuilding you. And for me, it was very simple, right? Like I had my aha moment where I sat down with God and I said, "Look, man, like we just kind of went through my whole life, and I was just like, here it all is. Here's everything, right? On a silver platter, like help me." And in that moment, I could hear God, and I could hear Him tell me, like, look, man, I need you to die to yourself, and then I need you to do some very specific things, right? After you die to yourself, I need you to start building yourself, but you need to embody that new person. You need to completely let go of that old you and start focusing on the new you, right? And you need to go hard. Like you need to go really hard. You need to take some of those same obsessions that you may have had, right? And reevaluate them and put them into other things, right? So whereas in my old life, I obsessed about drugs and the street life and sexual relationships, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And everything that come with it, the game rooms. Like I had to put that same obsession into learning, right? Learning myself, learning how to perfect my craft, learning how to protect myself. I had to start learning new things, right? And I can tell you this: the greater the dream you have for yourself, the greater responsibility, and the greater the sacrifice, right? I've had to sacrifice a lot of my comforts to really figure me out and learn, right? Learn. I had to learn all the different ways because in my recovery, I want to support people in all types of their recovery, right? Do I believe that people can get sober without a spiritual concept? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've seen it happen. I've seen it firsthand. I've literally seen people just go, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore and walk away. And I'm like, praise God, right? Like, wow, I couldn't do that. Me personally, I cannot do that. God had to strip me down, like strip me down, humiliate me, beat me up over and over and over again before anything finally clicked, right? Because I was completely selfish. I was completely selfish. It was all about me, my wins, my gains, me, right? I didn't leave a door open for God to step through, like, and I didn't allow Him into my life, right? And that's what I think the real key part is to the spiritual side of recovery is you have to allow God into your life so He can start working. You know, we want to combat Him. You know, naturally as addicts, we're control freaks. We want to control every aspect of our life, and letting go of some of those things is the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, right? Letting go of that old mentality, letting go of people, letting go of certain places, you know, the things we used to do, right? Some of that, you just need to sit down and create new habits, right? But to create new habits faithfully, you really have to get rid of all the old ones. You have to cut them off. So what I had to do, man, is I had to go through my phone and I had to tear out everybody, right? I left my immediate family, I left the treatment center that I was in, and my mentor, right? And I left my phone like that for like a year. I didn't contact people. You know, I didn't leave a window open for people to contact me. You know, and I had to do that because I had to focus on me. I had to become obsessed with learning how to be a new person, right? And that even involved, you know what I'm saying, like not obsessing about money, right? I had to learn how to live without money because in my addiction, right, I had no respect for money. I would make lots of money and then I'd blow it all the same night, whether on drugs or game rooms or whatever it was, right? So I had to learn how to live without money, and that was one of the best moves I ever made. Right? I see lots of people, they come into the recovery rooms and they abandon recovery because they have this inner anxiety that says, I got to be out making money. I got this to do. I got that to do. I got this to do. I got that to do. You know, you owe it to yourself to figure yourself out first. Right? And I had to come to this conclusion that if I'm no good for me, I'm no good for anyone else. I'm no good for my wife. I'm no good for my kids. I'm no good to my community. Like I have to sit down and take the time to figure me out. And I just had to start moving in a direction, right? I had to let my faith guide me, and you know, it involved doing things I didn't want to do. It involved going to AA meetings, right? It involved putting myself back in school. I can tell you this: God put us all here to do great things. God put us all here to do great things. And if you can absorb that simple concept, right, that everything God does is great, then you can open up new doors for you, right? Because God doesn't work in excuses. And a lot of times, even in the recovery rooms, especially in addiction, but even in the recovery rooms, we'll say, I want to do this, but I want to do this. I don't know about this. I don't, God did not put it in front of you for you not to use it, right? But he meant for you to use it to be great, not to be average, right? So I had to look back at my addiction and go, if an average life wasn't good enough for me then, what makes me think an average life is going to be good for me now? Right? Because today, I no longer negotiate with things trying to destroy me. So going backwards is not an option, right? It's not an option for me. I'm not negotiating with that. Those are things it's non-negotiable. Things that will suck me back into that life. I don't negotiate with those things. Bad relationships, people, places, things. Those are non-negotiable boundaries. I will not go back. And that's how you have to tell yourself when you're coming into these recovery rooms is I will not go back. God has something more for me. It's okay not to know what that is off the bat. You just need to start moving in the right direction, right? I'm tied into a lot of different things now today that when I came into recovery, like none of it was on the plan. None of it was, I didn't have this vision in my head that says, okay, I want to do a podcast. I want to be a public speaker. I want to be an author. I want to do this and do that and work with nonprofits and do all these other things. None of that was in the plan, right? I came into recovery going, I have to figure me out. Like, I have to figure me out before the world crashes down on me, right? And in order for me to do that, I had to put myself on punishment. And that's legit, right? I did. I had to put myself on punishment. I did 540 meetings in less than 6 months. Well, right about 6 months, right? Again, I went to school to figure myself out. I sat with mentors every single day, whether on the phone or in person. I was actively moving in the community, trying to do things for people. And that's, for me, the biggest blessing that has ever been bestowed upon me was a life of service, right? Um, when I was in treatment, I was almost dying. And man, service work saved me, right? I recognized that people were going out of their way to make sure I was okay. I was on a 24-hour watch. I was dying. I was dying, literally. My withdrawals were killing me. And people were sitting next to my bed and talking with me and making sure that I was still alive and still had some sort of degree of movement, right? Uh, and so that started off for me as super grateful, right? Because coming where I come from, bro, I wouldn't have done that for other people. I wouldn't have. And so when people did that for me, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude. And so I dug into service work and I started helping out in the AA rooms, and I started, speaking in public to other addicts, and I started just moving in a way that was doing for others more than it was doing for me, right? And when you move in that way, those are huge personal growth steps, massive personal growth steps, right? And people eventually see that, right? They see that and they're like, they start inviting you to things, and it's just, you really see how God's unconditional love model, what the Bible tries to teach us, unfolds, right? And again, some of these non-believers that I see out in the world, or so-called non-believers, bro, I've seen God do such beautiful works through them people, right? Even people that claim to, be against God or not like God, but I still see them do the most beautiful work. And I'm just like, wow, praise God. Like, you know what I'm saying? He's even able to work through the people that don't believe in him, you know? So I give all the praise to God in every way. But it started with me putting myself on punishment, right? Before somebody else does. When I could put myself on punishment, then I become self-empowered in my growth, right? And that's just a fact, right? When I put myself on punishment, then I'm grateful for the journey, right? I am. I do everything in joy today because I put myself on punishment. I put myself on punishment. I learned to discipline myself before somebody else had to come crashing down on me. Now, did that take a very tragic event? Absolutely. Absolutely it did, right? I had to look at some things and I'm like, oh wow. You know what I'm saying? How did this even happen to me? In that moment, I'm sitting there going like, God did this for a reason. Like, and I have to believe that, right? I have to turn my pain into purpose. Like, God put me here to see this because this didn't just happen to me. It happens to a lot of other people. And so I'm going to use this event. I'm going to use this tragedy. I'm going to use this turmoil. I'm going to use all the pain that it's caused me to help other people. In 25 years of drug addiction, I can tell you I've been through just about everything you can think of. Just about everything you can think of. And when I came into recovery, I was like, what am I going to do, right? I have no basic skills, as far as on paper, right? On paper, I look super ugly. I got a criminal record. I got all this and all that. Like, what am I going to do to change this, right? Because if I don't change this, then I guarantee the outcome of my future. And it just kind of like God came to me and he was like, bro, you got 25 years of drug addiction. You got 15 years of homelessness. You've got just about every relationship in your life you screwed up, burnt bridges with. You've ran yourself through the mud. Your health is trash. Like, you have tons of ammo right here to propel yourself to the next level, right? It's just, first you have to confess it to me, And then you have to confess it to yourself, and then you have to get out there and start confessing it to other people, which is what we do when we tell our testimony. We're laying it out there. We're laying it out there to let the next person who comes through know that they are not alone, right? We're laying it out there to know, to tell that next person that, man, this is a safe space. You can come talk to me. You can come talk to me. We can work this out, right? Because I've been through this. This is what I've done, and here's where I'm at today, right? And when you do it in that way, God works through other people. He works through you. He works through other people. You get this sense of contribution to yourself. Life becomes beautiful. You know, there's a peace about me today that I have never had. And that is the absolute truth, right? I used to be very angry, very selfish, you know, and I took it out on everyone. I took it out on myself, and I took it out on every single person in the world, right? Nobody was safe. Not even my kids, my past relationships, my family. I took it out on everyone, right? I had a lot. I was holding on to a lot. And I can tell you, when you're holding on to a lot, when you're constantly living in the past, right, we block blessings from the future, right? Some of those things that people come in there and they say, man, I can't get over this, right? I want to say, invite God into your life. There are things that's happened in my life that I always thought I needed to confront that person to work those things out, right? And truth be told, I didn't have to confront those persons. I just had to confess things to God, right? I had to talk to God about it. And you know, when people ask me, they're like, how did you do this? I said, man, me and God worked it out. You know, I sat down with God. I told him how I felt. I told him what I needed, you know, and lo and behold, God gave it to me. You know, sitting down with God, yes, it's super vulnerable, right? Because you're airing out your trash, right? But let's keep it real. God already knows. He already knows. You know what I mean? So it's when you're able to do that, you get to free yourself of the bondage of it. You get to liberate yourself, right? Because until I do this, I can't step into this new me, right? Because I can't take anything that I'm holding on to with me into my new life, right? I can remember it and attach a positive emotion to it, right? The lesson I learned from it. But other than that, it's got to stay right there. And it can't follow me into my future, right? Because then I start blocking blessings for my future, right? I start damaging that relationship between me and God. And today I hold on, like, man, me and God so locked in, and man, I just keep moving forward. I keep moving forward. I progress and progress and progress. It's not about perfection, right? No one's going to get this one and done. For me, 150 and 1,000, right? I mean, golly, I've messed up so much in my life, right? And a lot of times we sit there and we want to blame other people, right, for the way they're treating us. You know, I've had to look at some of my troubles, right, and go, why are they treating me like this? What is it? What is it about me that, you know, they just don't see any, like, I'm changing. What it is, man, your whole life has a track record, right? There's a pattern, right? So when people start recognizing the patterns that we've done our whole life, it's hard to trust in you. It's hard. You know, you can't blame anybody for it. It's your fault. You know, whether you were hurt, whether you hurt somebody, whatever it is, you've decided to destroy your life over this moment, right? So you have to make peace with God about it. You got to make peace with God about it. You got to make peace with, you know, whoever it is you need to make peace with. But I'm telling you right now, if you can release that stuff to God and just give it to him, if you can just give it to God and let it go, God handles it. God handles it for you, right? If you don't have a spiritual aspect of you, then, you know, the road becomes a little bit more, you know, laid out. You have to go, okay, well, I got to resolve this with this person, or I have to do this with this person. But I can tell you right now, like, faith works, right? Today, I don't have to confront people. Like, I let my work ethic in life speak for me. You know what I mean? I don't defend myself nearly as much. I'm not gonna say I'm perfect, but I don't defend myself nearly as much as certain things because I've turned away from those things, right? At some point, you have to break the cycle. You have to break the cycle, and you have to do it in a way where people see it. where people see it, where you can see it, where you believe it, right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that God put you here to do something great. Today, I believe that God put me here to do something great, right? And so I run with that. And everything I try to do great, whether it's my job, my relationships, anything. I want it to be great. I want everything I touch to be blessed today, not damaged and chaotic and destructive and filled with depression and guilt and shame and all these things, right? I want everything I do to be out of love and really commit myself to that. I had to make a choice when I came into recovery to start making my life about commitments, right? And I looked back through everything and all the damage that I caused, and I said, man, it's because I never committed to anything. I never committed, right? I always went with that got to do something different mentality instead of got to do more mentality, right? And that's something that I had to learn, right, on my own, because throughout my whole life, Sean, people were telling me, Sean, you got to do something different. You got to do something different. This is not working. You have to do something different, right? So in my mind, what happened is I became comfortable with starting over and constantly starting over and constantly starting over and constantly starting over, right? So I was a master at starting over, but I was super weak at following through. I was super weak in my commitments to things. So I came into recovery and I said, you know what, I'm gonna start committing to things. And you'll be amazed how uncomfortable that is, but how comfortable you get being uncomfortable once you start seeing how that follow through game is where it's really at. You know what I mean? Like fourth quarter pressure is where champions are made. And that's freaking beautiful, right? Because that's when you win the Super Bowl. That's when you reach that next level, is when your follow through game is on point. And it's not letting struggle get you down, right? Now again, if I'm forced into something, then that struggle's real tough. But if I make the choice to do it myself, it's super rewarding. Super rewarding. It's a confidence booster. Now I put myself through it. I empowered myself, and now I have what God promises, man. And you know what I'm saying? Like, He wants you here to do good things and be great. Be great at everything you do. So if you take nothing from this today, man, die to yourself. Die to the old you. There's people who have been in recovery for many years who refuse to do that, who refuse to just die to the old them. And for me, when God told me to die to myself and I committed myself to the Lord, I said, you know what, you're right. I need to die to every bit of me and be completely reborn, washed clean. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need to go through the whole process and start from ground zero, learn how to crawl. Then I had to learn how to walk. And now I'm hitting the stage where I feel like I'm at a good jog. You know what I mean? And next thing you know, I'm gonna be running. So you just have to be willing to break yourself down and completely rebuild you. And when you do that, that's when all the promises comes true. That's when at the end of the day, you'll realize that everything works for the good. Everything, right? I would not be here if I held on to any of my same mentalities that I had before. I would not be where I'm at today. I would not be sitting in front of this camera. I'd be not trying to, help get people sober and keep their sobriety and push them to the next level, because that's what it's all about. It's all about the next level. And that's where we're trying to go. We're trying to be successful. We're trying to do things we've never done before. That's what recovery is about. You know what I'm saying? Being the best version of you that you can possibly be. And with that, I hope y'all have a great weekend. Catch y'all later.